plane.
All right, my favorite this week in week 7 in South Korea was finding the partook, which is a pancake filled with cinnamon and sugar. It's so good. Definitely get it if you're in South Korea. So good.
My favorite thing during the week 7 of our stay here in Korea was another food item, because that seems to be my theme, but it was eating the bugs. It was a unique experience. It wasn't bad as I thought. They were chewy, gritty, delicious, delicious bugs you'll see more about.
My favorite thing in week 7 in Korea was the big giant slide in Square One Mall. You sit in potato sacks and you just go down the slide with lots of energy, like in a rocket ship, and it goes down 3 floors, and it was just so fun. My favorite thing we did in week 7 was Square One Mall, the giant slide. It was my favorite because it went super fast. And you're in a giant sack, and it was going so fast. I'm like, My favorite thing in week 7 was going swimming at the night market. And I gotta swim. Gotta put my face underwater and swim.
Hello! We are Diapers on a Plane, and this is week 7 in South Korea, episode number 17 of the podcast. And we are gonna just give you a little tidbit of popsicle life. It's gotten really hot here in the summer. It is now officially summer season.
Super hot.
And we are at the popsicle store just about every single day. So it's popsicle / ice cream. I guess it's called the 50% ice cream store. I got a Goo Goo bar, which is like chocolate and caramel and nuts.
Yeah, I have a yogurt cherry. It's yummy. They have, of the flavors you have to choose from, there are only about 1 million.
Yeah.
So they have popsicle stores all over the place, and they just opened one up down a block. I think we've talked about it before. But it's self-serve. It's like the Amazon Go of popsicle stores. So you can just go grab them, scan them, and leave. It's fantastic. So before we get going with this week's episode, a couple of housekeeping issues. We did the mukbang podcast last time, and while we had a ton of fun, we realized it was really noisy, so we're trying it from a bedroom in our apartment this time. We have the background is the city of Songdo, and so I did make some mistakes on last week's podcast too. We're getting a lot more viewers, and we're really excited about that. So I want to let you know that I do realize that a lot of my images were out of scale, and we had some technical issues. But we're trying to do these weekly podcasts as we're here.
That's why you watch. I mean, you love to see the mistakes.
We totally messed up.
It's real life, because you know what? We're going to tell you about some mistakes we made this week.
Yep.
It's all part and
parcel. And a part of that is we're really tired. So traveling with kids is no joke. We mentioned that before. But also traveling with a baby who keeps mom up all hours of the night tends to make some groggy parents who in turn are ornery, and it's provided some challenges that are still totally make it worth it, but that's what's going on. So we want to thank you for viewing, thank you for watching. Feel free to hit the subscribe button down below so that we can keep making these videos for you.
And ring that bell.
Yeah.
Is that how it goes?
I think you're supposed to gently tap the bell so that you can see our stuff.
All right. So last week in our podcast / vlogcast, we talked about a few things. Gabriel was going to try and figure out how to trim his beard. And as you can see, he did so. Or more accurately, I did it.
Yay.
We went into the shower so that all of the hair fell into a secure place. And we just used a comb and some scissors.
So lo and behold, my beard is less hobo than it was last time.
It's a little bit better.
Okay.
All right, so this week we did a couple repeat things. One of the repeat things we did was we went back to the Namdaemun Market.
Namdaemun, that's how you say it.
And one of the things that's been on our radar for a while is we've heard about this night market. And it starts with a B and it ends with an I, and it's something like...
Bondekobi?
That.
We'll call it Bondekobi.
All right. And it is a night market that is by the Han River. It's actually runs parallel to the Han River, and we will get to that. But that was one of our favorite events this week, and we highly recommend it. It is one of the #1 family-friendly free activities that you can do in Seoul every Friday and Saturday night. So we will get to that, but first, we headed back to the Namdaemun Market. And one of the reasons we wanted to do this, if you remember back when we first arrived here, is we found tons and tons of cheap merchandise, like clothing, hair bows, shoes, watches, belts, all sorts of stuff, hats, socks, all these amazing things. And we wanted to head back. We wanted to get a bunch of kids' clothes for the next year for the kids, take them back home. We brought an extra suitcase because we thought we would find something like this. And the other big thing we wanted to do at the Namdaemun Market,
I wanted to eat some bugs, and I did.
And literally bugs, like the silkworm pupae.
Beondegi.
The very bugs that make silk, like critters.
That's what makes them so good and so valuable in my tummy.
Yeah, so we learned a lot about these worms. After we ate them, the kids had lots of questions. And so like we always do, we wrote down the questions, we came home and looked them up. But these bugs are very sacred to Korean culture because they did produce silk. And throughout all of Asia, these bugs were very, very popular and sacred to their culture, and to not waste anything, they wanted to make sure and consume them. And then it was found that they obviously contained a lot of protein as they're a meat.
Protein, fiber, they're supposed to like cure Alzheimer's. They're supposed to be like a wonder bug.
Yeah.
So I feel more vital. My vitality is just, since eating the bugs.
Well, let's get to that. So was Namdaemun Market what we thought it was?
No, well, it wasn't, right?
Yeah.
It's what we saw before, but I think we thought the prices were much cheaper. And this is something I'm not even sure of whether you're supposed to barter.
Yeah.
In Korea. I don't think you're supposed to.
Well, it seemed like some vendors were, like that suitcase vendor for the first time
that's
was.
True.
Like he kept offering us at lower prices, we walked away. So we definitely don't know about the culture and nuances. I don't think it would have been out of place to ask for another price, but a lot of vendors seem to be very set.
Well, what I noticed is you have some vendors that have prices on everything and other ones that do not, right? And so you have to ask them what the price is. So I don't know if maybe those ones you can, but I've seen some YouTube videos where people try to barter and it'll start at 10,000 won, and then the person bartering will say, how about 5,000? And then the vendor will say, how about 10,000? And they'll say, okay, how about 8,000? And the vendor will say, how about 10,000? And then the person will say, how about 10,000? And the vendor will say, okay. So I don't know what the rules are, but it seemed like the prices were higher than when we came last time.
Yeah, so we think that might have been weekend prices, it might have been foreigner prices. I did ask the first time we came about prices, and they were in the 5,000 to 10,000 won range, and they were not the second time we came around. So hard to know. I do know I heard a lot of people saying, not just to me, but to other people looking around, no discount, which makes me think bartering may be more commonplace than we realize. But in either case, it was a lot more expensive than we originally thought it was. And we love hair bows. And so we found this warehouse full of hair bows. You had to buy them by packages of 10. You couldn't buy them individually, which is probably better. I probably would have gone absolutely crazy if I could have bought just pairs.
And they don't let you take pictures in there, but I snuck a couple before they told me I couldn't. I didn't know we weren't allowed to.
Yeah.
So we'll show a couple pictures of the inside. But it was like hair bow
heaven.
mecca. Yeah.
Hair bow heaven.
And Catherine's like bananas for hair bows. Like she's
we have 3 girls.
And you wouldn't believe it when we're out and about, and if one of our children ever loses a hair bow, like there's hell to pay for me. Like I get, or if our 4-month-old chews on one of them and I'm not paying attention,
8 months old.
I'm sleeping in the doghouse.
She's 8 months old.
These things are like gold. They're like family.
Moms, you feel me. You know what I'm talking about. He's all right. Another thing is, we have an 8-year-old. She's really getting into fashion. Our 4-year-old insane over fashion. She loves it too. But our 8-year-old, we got her this cute little watermelon outfit. She was wearing blue hearts, hair bows, and even she knew, like, she had to go home and get her watermelon hair bows.
Yeah.
So
Accessory Alley.
It was
really
awesome.
cool. So yeah, I think in Namdaemun Market, so there's an upper floor and there's a basement and then there are buildings. And so I think it would take a very long time to explore all of it.
I don't even know. I know the last time we were there, we were at gate 6. This time we were at gate 5. I don't know how many gates there are, but the place is awesome. There's just so much to see and experience. Lots of fun. Whether you can get like uber cheap deals, I don't know. But the prices are somewhat fair, you know. Like any other place, you're going to decide how much you're going to pay for something. We got a lot of dresses. We got some cute little tunics for the girls. Obviously, a lot of hair bows. There was a shirt for Widmore I loved. It had a little dinosaur on the front with this, like, faux hawk, and then the back had his spines. It was like $20, though. And I wasn't willing to pay that for an 8-year-old that's going to stretch out his clothes and spill chocolate over it. But there were lots of great stuff there.
So we had fun shopping, and then we found the food aisle. What is it, the street food?
Yeah.
And so Catherine finally got to find some of the hotok.
I think it's hotok.
It's hotok.
You can tell me in the comments if I'm saying that right or not, but that's what I think it is. I'm not going to repeat it again because I'm pretty sure I said it good the first time.
We were told that it was a winter food and that we couldn't find it in the summer, but we found it and it was delicious.
But it has taken us a long time to find it, so I think it's very sparse in the summer.
And I think it's Catherine's favorite thing to eat now.
So it is it's like a donut. It's like a round donut. Not until this is done. No, I told you when this is done. So it's like a round fried patty. So think like Bavarian cream donut, but instead of being filled with cream, it's filled with, we've heard honey from some people, but I actually think it's a cinnamon sugar mix that's melted. It melts as it's deep fried, and then some of them have nuts in them, and it is incredible. Like, everybody says that when you come to South Korea, it's the one thing you need to eat, and it's 100% true. Like, it's incredible.
So I thought they were good, and I didn't eat very much of the street food because we knew we were going to the night market later, which we knew that it had food trucks there. And so, but honestly, I probably would have wanted to stay here because everything's so cheap. They have those little crabs that are so delicious.
Baby crabs.
I wanted to try the octopus skewers. Like, they had so much.
Of chickens. They had tons of
chicken.
Koreans love food on skewers. They eat a lot of it everywhere. And they had a bunch of that. They had the rice patties that are cooked in the really red, hot, spicy sauce. They had other of the deep fried dough that was filled with other types of things like vegetables and onions and cheese and all sorts of different concoctions.
Yeah. And when we first got there, too, they had some vendors selling fresh-cut watermelon, and everyone was flocking around that. They had ice-cold slices of watermelon and pineapple, and we ate about 4 or 5 of those before we even started shopping.
They gifted one to the little baby. Like, it's just such a welcoming, loving culture.
So I think that is Namdaemun Market. However, we forgot something really important.
I didn't forget it.
I forgot. Well, I misplaced it. I displaced it. So before we even got to Namdaemun Market, we got off of the subway terminal in the middle of a huge, giant protest.
Oh, yeah, I forgot that. You still haven't talked about eating the bugs.
Oh, my goodness. Holy moly. Okay. So bugs or protests?
Protest.
Okay, protest. So when we got to Namdaemun Market, before we walked to it, we got off the subway and there's a huge protest.
Well, we could hear we could hear in a microphone, we could hear chanting, we could hear people yelling. It didn't sound mean or aggressive, but you could tell there was some sort of event happening.
Yep. So I got nervous, and then my first thought was, is this a pro-America protest or anti-America protest? Because I was there, obviously I look American, and I have my children with me, so I was kind of scouting around, looking at everybody. And
we were using the bathroom while he was checking this out.
And someone came up and started talking to me. He was really nice, and he asked if we're from America, and I said yes, and he was like giving me the thumbs up, and I asked what the protest was about, and he told me that they were protesting some stuff with the government. So I was like, okay. And as I looked up around, I saw Korean flags and American flags side by side. Everyone was carrying both, so I thought, okay, this is a safe venue to walk my family through. And it was really fun. We got to walk through it with the kids and kind of show what civil
disobedience.
Well, civil disobedience, but
free speech,
nonviolent protests.
Free
we're all
speech,
about.
freedom of speech. So we come up out of the subway, and not only did we see American flags and Korean flags, but we saw
Donald Trump flags.
Donald Trump
So
flags.
they're very pro. I don't know if they're trying to speak to the American president, their support. I don't know.
Yeah.
But they were very pro-American. When we were going through, some of the protesters actually gave our kids little flags, little American flags to wave, and we took a bunch of video of it and a bunch of pictures.
Yeah, and it was very civil. Like, even the policemen were off getting smoothies. The policemen were offering me a chair to stand on so I could get a view of, like, a better view taking pictures. You can see all of these pictures on our blog. But we ultimately ended up finding out that this is an ongoing weekly protest that's happening every, what day did we go? Saturday? It's happening every Saturday, and they are protesting a couple things. So one of the things they're protesting is that there was a huge ferry accident in Seoul. So a lot of Koreans, they don't have a huge swimming culture, and a lot of Koreans do not know how to swim. And there was a huge ferry accident that happened due to some neglect in doing safety checks on a ferry boat that ferries from the main island down to Jeju. And they kind of skipped some requirements that they needed to do. And the ship was doing fine. It had taken hundreds and hundreds of trips. And then on this one trip, it ended up having some malfunctions and it sunk. And nearly everybody died. It was like upwards of 400 people.
Terrible.
So there were some altars and there were some kind of what's the word?
Memorials?
Yeah, memorials there at this square, and they had removed them.
And so people were upset that they were removed. They thought they were kind of trying to erase that. I don't know exactly, but they were protesting that. It looked like there was a elected president who got put in jail, so they were protesting for her release. All the stuff I'm not sure I completely understand.
Yeah, well, they were also protesting. There were huge, massive protests occurring when they were trying to get her impeached, and 5 protesters died, and the police haven't answered any questions about how that happened, and so they were protesting that. Sweets? So
full disclosure, that's our understanding of it.
Yeah.
Maybe incorrect. So that our limited American perceived understanding, but it was very peaceful.
Yeah.
There's a lot of it. It was high energy. They had speakers there. Some of the booths had like pictures, I guess, of government officials on it, and they were throwing darts at them. Really interesting. We'll show videos in the thing. But from a world schooling standpoint with our kids, it's, we always like to talk about government, the role of government, and abuse of power, and no matter what country it is, like, power can be corrupted. So
Yeah.
it was a good lesson for homeschool and world schooling.
yeah, it was awesome. So went to Namdaemun Market, did that. Then we ended the day.
So we did that, and then we went to the Beondegi night market.
So this is spelled Bamdokkaebi.
But it's this night market we'd heard about. So every night at 6 o'clock it's right on the Han River, which is about 20 minutes from the Namdaemun Market.
Yeah, it's just south over the river.
Yeah, so we took a quick little bus ride right from the Namdaemun Market to where this night market is. Walked across the street. It was right there, and we got there just as they were opening up all of their
food trucks.
food trucks.
Yeah.
So we
There
got
were probably 20, 30
Yeah,
food
20, 30.
trucks. They had lots of steak, they had shrimp, they had waffles, they had burgers, they had tons of fries, Hong Kong
food,
waffle.
shrimp. Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of everything, some street tacos. We ordered a handful of those. We ate them there. And we went back a couple times. But a couple hours in, it got super busy.
Our job is to put things right.
So when we arrived at the market, we kind of did a walkthrough. We kind of got like the scope of everything that was going on. So you enter, there are trash receptacles everywhere lined up, like different various ones. There's vendors selling local goods along the inside, and then the food trucks are located along the outside. And then you walk through, and at the very end of kind of the hustle and bustle of it, there's this water feature at the park. So this market is open Friday and Saturday nights only. You've got the river on this side, and then the park on this side. You've got the vendors here and the parks on this side. And unbeknownst to us, this water feature, which is really like a park pond, was like full of kids and adults. Like they were all just wading around in the water. They were full on swimming through it. It's probably about 2 feet deep. And we just looked at each other and we were just like jaw on the floor. Like we'd never seen kids playing in water here in Korea.
Yeah, they're just fully clothed. They're having fun. So, I mean, that's the thing is like, we went there for the street food. But we had the most fun with the water feature, I think.
Yeah.
Because later on, like, after going to the Namdaemun Market and having the cheap street food that was just fantastic, the street trucks at this place were a little more trendy, a little bit more expensive.
And they were
more upscale. It was really good.
It was, we kind of had half and half. We had some that were really, really good that we would love to go back for. Yeah. Some that we would skip the second time. But more importantly, that they were really small portions for a lot of money.
Yeah, and the lines towards the end, were like 40 minutes at a food truck. And so it got just so busy that we played at the water feature as long as we could and then left. I think we would come back, not for the food trucks, but for the water feature and the beautiful view along the Han River. Yeah. It's just fantastic.
You can see all of Seoul just lit up, and as it gets later at night, more vendors come out. They bring light up balloons. There's lots of family play. There's the blow-up a mascot that's like a guy that's filled with air, those things that wave around. Yeah. We've talked a lot. If we go back, what we would really love to do is stop at Namdaemun Market first, get off on the subway stop from Namdaemun Market, load up on a bunch of street food there, bring it over to this market, and play in the water and the park and take in the ambiance and the views. They have live music there. Our kids were dancing together to the live music. Very, very, very friendly, fun, family fun, friendly atmosphere. It's one of the best things you can do, like we said at the beginning of the video, for a fun, family, free night in Seoul.
Yeah, yep. Or, just get there at 6 and order everything you want before the crowds get there, and then you'll be fine.
But, it was just expensive. That's
or just don't come starving.
Right, yeah. That's eat before you come.
But I think we'd do that again for sure in a heartbeat. So I think, that's the major takeaways from there. And I think I think what I'm going to do for the vlog as well on YouTube is I'm going to put the names of these places down at the bottom, just in case anyone's watching this, hoping to find some fun stuff to do with kids in Seoul, because I think this was a good week.
Yeah.
And we pronounce them really terribly. So.
Yeah, we're even talking about next Saturday we're going to go on a tour of North Korea. We've been talking about it a ton. We're finally going to do it. But the tour gets out at 3:30. We're like, well, what should we do? We're already going to be in Seoul. We don't want to go home. We're going to go down and hit up Han River, so...
And probably Namdaemun and get some food first.
Yeah.
Okay, so next on the list of fun things we did this week, we went to... So we were looking for things to do, and I had been on a search with the family to get these rice hamburgers.
Oh, right.
And we'd gone to Campustown, it's a local stop here, and searched for it, couldn't find it. Really disappointed. So I was asking my students fun things to do, and they'd mentioned this mall that's a little ways off that has this ginormous slide inside of it, and it's free.
So it's an American style mall, which means it's all enclosed. So most of the markets here are all outdoors, but this literally looks like a mall that you would go to in America. So it's all built indoors, and it looks just like an American mall. Which, if you haven't been to Korea, you might not understand what the difference is. Just think indoor marketplace versus outdoor marketplace.
The cool thing about this mall is that it has this giant slide in it, this big metal silver slide that goes from the 4th floor to the 1st.
And it
spins around. And it's free. And people are surprised when I'm like, I can't believe it's free. And they're like, why wouldn't it be free?
Those people must have lived in Korea for too long.
I don't know. All I know is our kids loved it. There was a height restriction, so our 4-year-old couldn't do it.
120 centimeters. So you get in a potato sack, which makes you go super fast, and you just whip down this slide, and it is so fun. And the even better part than it being free is there are no lines. Nobody was riding this slide. So our twins would go down, and they'd be like, see ya, and they'd get on the elevator, go all the way back up, whip down again, and just over and over and over and over again.
So other than that, it's a pretty generic mall. In the basement of it, there is a Home Plus that has some kids' cafes there. It's got a Champion, which our kids always love. They had a lot of... We took them to a Champion that night, and they got to play in the kids' cafe, which you can't go wrong there.
Yeah, super fun.
This time, usually when we've gone to a kids' cafe, there have been no other kids there, but this one was full of Korean kids. And so I think there was a little bit more immersion going on, which was always good for them.
Yeah, it was way fun.
Okay, that was the Square One Mall.
And then outside this mall, we also found a fun little playground with another water feature that kids were swimming in. So that's another thing we want to go back maybe a little bit earlier in the day, take a towel, change your clothes, and let the kids play in that water. One thing we've missed immensely, the number one thing we've missed about being in America during the summer is definitely swimming.
Yep. So next on the list that we did just yesterday, actually, was Muuido Island, which we've been on our list to go to for a while because we wanted to see some beautiful beaches while we're here in Korea, because we love water, we love beaches, and that was on our bucket list. And so, reading up on the web, we found out that getting there, it's relatively close to us, but getting there isn't the easiest thing.
You kind of have to go all
you either have to
around.
take a subway and a couple buses, or a couple buses and a subway, to get to the point where you then have to take another special bus that takes you to the ferry. And the ferry takes you to Muuido Island. At least that's what the internet told us with the most updated information. So we decided to bypass all the difficulty and just get a taxi to take us straight to the ferry station, which at the time seemed like a fantastic idea. Until the taxi driver, who didn't speak English, went past the ferry station that we wanted to go to and started going over a bridge. And I started pointing out, no, we want to go to the Muuido ferry dock. And so he said, okay, and turned us back around. Lo and behold, that taxi driver was smarter than we were, and he was actually taking us to Muuido Island.
What I don't understand is, why didn't he just say, no ferry? No ferry, like...
Because they don't argue with you.
Oh, my...
Nobody...
Yeah, we've had plenty of people...
Okay, well, he didn't argue with you. He just did what I said.
That was frustrating.
He took us back to the ferry dock, and we got out, went to the information desk to buy tickets, and there was a big banner over the information building.
Yeah. Clearly showing it was closed.
Showing it was closed, and I was reading it with my translation on my Google app, which said, hey, why not use our nice, beautiful bridge instead? So I think they don't have ferries. People go there to fish and catch fish and eat them there.
Which is what they were doing. We saw
but now there's no ferry. Yeah. And so
after we get out of the taxi, we realize there's no ferry. There's no like bumpers for a ferry to come up. There's no loading dock. It's just people fishing off this pier. There's no access to a ferry or a boat whatsoever.
No ferry. So we realized, crap, I guess maybe we'll just walk across that bridge.
Yeah.
But we realized something quickly after that, is that
I left my phone in the car.
So that was another fun adventure we had to.
So we have lost. Not lost. We have left a backpack on a subway.
That was their second time losing a phone, though.
We have left a scooter in a subway station. We have left a phone at a restaurant. And now we have left a phone in a taxi. So there were some words exchanged. Somebody was very upset with me. And every right to be. I am... In my defense, I have all 4 kids in the back seat, and I am trying to keep them under control. And my other excuse is that the only shorts I have that I like wearing don't have pockets in them. So, for whatever reason, right? Still my fault.
So, anywho, regardless of fault, the phone was left in the door of the car, and we were trying to figure out what the heck to do.
Okay, so he was super mad at me. Didn't know what to do, so he kept calling the phone. And I was like, you can't just call the phone. It's in the pocket of the door. He's not going to hear it because it's probably not even on. Like, my phone, the volume's never on. Don't even ask me why. I don't even know why, okay? But the volume's probably not on. I'm like, you're going to have to figure out how to contact a taxi driver. So we look on Kakao Taxi, and you can actually call your taxi driver. So we called him. And we kept saying "aseo" on the end of everything because we thought maybe that would help him understand.
We lost our cell phone. We lost our cell phone SEO, and your car SEO.
Americans SEO.
Madida. I don't know.
Yeah, and he just kept saying, "No English, no English." So then we used the translation.
So we used the translate. There was a couple having like a fish picnic next to their car. And so we used our translation app, so I spoke in the translation app and said, we left our phone in the taxi. Can you call the taxi driver and tell him that the phone's in there?
Yeah.
And he did. He was like, oh, sure, okay. And so I communicated with back and forth. He didn't speak English at all. But he called the taxi driver and kind of had to tell the taxi driver where the phone was in the door. Anyway, I kind of got the gist that he was like, nay, like, yes, he found it. And he asked me are you going back to Songdo-ro, whatever, later tonight? The taxi driver will bring it to you. So we had it. Well,
yeah. So it was done. I was like not stressed about it because what could we do? Which is never my excuse for anything. I'll still stressed about stuff. But at this point, I was like, we've been in Korea and we've lost everything, and nobody takes anything. We will leave our apartment, see something on the side of the road, come back hours, a day later, and it'll still be there. So I was fully confident we would get it back. Yeah. I wasn't worried about it, and I just wanted to enjoy the day.
But then your phone kept calling me.
That was the biggest problem. And we couldn't figure out, like, was he making a bunch of calls? Like, it's 25 cents a minute if you make a phone call in Korea because we don't have an international plan. We get international texting and data, but we don't have phone calls. So that was a little unnerving, but again, what could we do about it? So we cross over the bridge to Muuido Island. It's incredibly beautiful. The bridge actually was great to walk across. Like, we got to see so much.
Great photos. We could see all the islands. It was actually a nice walk.
Yeah, and after, walking up on the bridge, we, saw the island coming closer to us, and we could hear, like, the life on the island. It was just buzzing with life. It was really interesting. So we get across the bridge and we see all of these just kind of restaurants and stores and businesses, mostly restaurants, fish restaurants. So we make our way around, and by this time, Molasses had fallen asleep. She didn't have any clothes on because we had given her some little mandarins to eat, and she was chewing on them. And I did not expect to feed her on this trip, so we didn't have any bibs, so it was just easier to take her clothes off, plus it was hot. We had a little canopy to protect her from the sun. So she falls asleep. So we see this sign that says you can hike to the beach, because Muuido Island's not very big, so we planned on doing this hike. We were just going to leave the stroller. Again,
700 meters is what it said.
Yeah. No, not then. We just saw that little trail that went up.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Like, we have left strollers outside, scooters outside Costco. We leave our stroller everywhere. We weren't worried about it. Another reason I wasn't worried about the phone. So when she woke up, we were going to let her sleep about a half an hour. Then we were going to hoof it over this mountain, over to the beach. But while we're waiting, we're walking. Gabe was going to try some snails. We decided to get some waters and just kind of see what this little border fishing village was like. Then we see the sign that says 700 meters to a resort and a beach. And there were beautiful pictures of people swimming and having a great time and playing volleyball. So we were like, oh, this is a road. Let's just take it. We have the stroller.
Oh, it was a hike.
Yeah, 700 meters, not flat.
Well, it was up a hill. And then it was back down, and then we made it to the beach, which it did have a beautiful resort, beautiful beach, lots of people there. Only costs 1,000 won for each of the kids and 2,000 for. So it was like $5.
Yeah.
To go into this resort. They had restaurants and food there. A lot of sashimi that was really expensive. So we didn't dare buy there, but they did have a nice little popsicle store.
Yeah.
So we got some popsicles and hung out on the beach for a few hours.
We also got some cookies. Up to this point, we had breakfast when we left the apartment, which was actually we gave the kids breakfast and we each had an apple. They had a hearty breakfast, but we really hadn't eaten up until this point. So we had some waters, got some popsicles, had some cookies and crackers that we just got at the convenience store. I mean, you can imagine what you can get there. And then we went out to the beach and we played in the water. We played in the sand. There were incredible intact whole tons and tons and tons of seashells. Kids love looking for seashells. We have all these bottles at home that say where we got our seashells from, and we love collecting them. So we spent hours out there. It was beautiful.
And this, my understanding, at least from my perspective that I've seen, is that in Korea they love eating fish, they love eating raw fish, they love being at the beach, but they don't particularly enjoy swimming.
Yeah.
And so what I've noticed at the beaches whenever we've gone, people aren't in their bathing suits. I never see anyone just in trunks. If they are swimming, it might be because it's colder up here and they're in like wetsuits. But most people are just dressed normally, and then they all have like tents that they sit in, little canopies and tents all over the place. And so swimming, going to the beach seems more like you go there and hang out and eat food.
Yeah.
So it's not as much. Oh, good. Okay. So not as much about swimming and sunbathing as it is in the States.
Yeah.
So we hung out there for several hours, then decided to head back, and we were starving.
We were starving because, again, we had not eaten. So we both were secretly thinking, and then Gabriel vocalized it, we should go to Chinatown because obviously we're obsessed with Korean Chinese food.
And then we have to make it back in enough time to get your cell phone.
Yeah, so another thing we had done is, as we've mentioned before, we belong to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and we know the missionaries here, and so because they are fluent in both English and Korean, and the first person we had talked to didn't really speak any English. We just wanted to kind of
make sure we got our phone back.
Yeah.
So I messaged on Kakao Talk the missionaries and said, "Hey, Catherine left her phone in a taxi driver. Here's his number. Can you call him and help us work out the details for the drop off later tonight?"
Yeah. So the taxi driver wanted to know when we'd be back. We said between 9 and 10.
9 and 10, and the missionary said, "Good. Call us when you when you get back.
And he'll just meet us where he picked us up.
Meet you where you picked it up. Yep.
Yeah.
So that was our plan. We thought, great, we have enough time to go to Chinatown. So we made the hike back down to the main road where we could wait for a bus, and we waited for a bus for forever.
Long time.
During that time, I got a cup of snails, and we did another little weird food eating thing. Catherine tried them this time.
Everybody tried them this time, including me.
Yep. So we ate some snails. You had little toothpicks, and you eat the snails. It was delicious. And we waited for that bus for a long time, and then buses started coming by.
So one thing that's really interesting about this is Muuido Island So, to get to Muuido Island, you have to take this 13-mile or 20,000-meter bridge that they built specifically to attach the island that the airport's on to Songdo, which is where we live. And we'll talk a little bit more about this probably next week or so, maybe the week after, about why Songdo was created. But it's a fascinating story. But what they did is they took 500 tons of reclaimed land, and they filled up basically the ocean. And what was really interesting about Muuido Island is you could see what the land looked like before they filled it up, and it's just this muddy, marshy, sandy, dirty land. And so that was really cool for me. So I could see what the area we live in now, what that was built on. Yep. And we were looking while we were waiting for the bus. One of the other things we did is our kids stood over this ledge watching all the birds and the rats running around.
Big giant rats going through and looking through all the shells. It was awesome.
It was terrible.
Freaked Kathy out, but the kids were pretty excited about, Dad, I found rats.
Yeah.
But we waited for the buses. The bus kept going by, and they were full of people.
And they wouldn't stop.
So they just kept leaving.
Yeah.
And so I had it all mapped out to take the bus system to Incheon Station, right? And then at the last minute, I decided I'm just going to get a taxi. So I thought I punched in Incheon Station, and we got a taxi came, picked us up. Boom, we're going to Chinatown. We're so happy. And we were almost out there. I'm like, this does not look like Incheon Station. They'd taken us to Incheon City Hall, which was my mistake, but it was not. It was about an hour subway ride from Chinatown.
So more words were exchanged.
Yes, everyone was starving. This time, Gabe had made the biggest mistake ever. And Catherine, it was now her time to yell at me, right? And
it's 7 p.m. We had not had a proper meal.
It was too late.
And I'm a nursing mother.
Well, that's one of the lessons we've learned time and time and time and time again, is don't be hungry on a vacation.
Also, I wanted to take a bunch of snacks to the beach because I'd read a lot of people picnic out there, and he read there were restaurants out there, so he did not pack all the snacks that I packed. So there were words.
Yes,
there were words.
Lovely married couple words. And so Catherine just said screw it, and she was going to go home. Last minute she decided to make the trek out to...
I didn't decide last minute. Our sweet 8-year-old came up and said, Mom, this is the stop for Chinatown, because we had told her we were going to eat there, and she really wanted to eat there. She broke my cold heart.
But we traveled to Chinatown in silence. And then we went to the first Chinese restaurant. We went there. And this restaurant was like crazy.
They were videotaping us.
They were like so excited to have us eat there. They're like, come sit down, come in. They were grabbing our baby. They were taking selfies with our baby and our family.
All of us.
And they were taking pictures with all of us. And they were like so excited. And they were like videotaping us eat. And we had all this food. And suddenly everybody was happy again.
So... then we found out today at church, our branch president was telling us that what they do is when they have foreigners come into their restaurant, they video you. Even we haven't had this happen before, but then they put you on Naver, which there's a Naver Maps, a Naver website, a Naver kind of like Yelp type website, to show that they're foreign friendly, to show that foreigners like eating here, so you should too.
And they were super foreigner friendly. The food was okay.
I think they were also laughing at how much food we ordered.
Oh, we were so hungry. And our kids can eat like four adult sizes of those black bean noodles. Yeah. Rah. And we were starving.
Yeah. So we ate all the food. We wouldn't go back, unfortunately, even though we loved it, but it's not our favorite.
It's not our favorite. We've eaten at better places at Chinatown.
The sweet and sour pork wasn't covered in a clear sauce, and I have now become...
She's picky.
Yeah.
Korean Chinese
I'll only
eater.
Eat the clear sauce now. The slightly purple sauce.
So after that, we went and got some strawberry skewers like you do in Chinatown.
And I really wanted to go get some real sweet and sour pork and take it back, but Gabriel was really concerned about the phone. So
I wanted to get phone.
We went back. But he did buy me a ice cream macaron sandwich, so I forgave him about the extra pork.
So we went back. We took the subway back, and it's getting close to 10 o'clock now as we're approaching home. And so I start texting the missionaries, and they call me back, and they call me, and they're like, well, or they text me, and well, the driver got worried, so he dropped the phone off at the police station. So we were just like, whoa.
Well, the thing is, the police station was on the way home. Like, we could have stopped at the police station. It's right by Chinatown. Well, it was right by the transfer point to Chinatown.
I don't think it was.
Yes, it is. It's right before Wonage or after Wonage if you're coming home.
Yeah. So
we all went home. It's 10 o'clock at night. I'm trying to manage all 4 kids with a baby that wants to go to bed, and she wants to nurse to bed. And all the kids were sticky and sweaty from the humidity, and then the strawberry skewers that have a sugar glaze on them, it's dripping down, so they all had to have a shower. And then he's off getting my phone.
So I got to go to the police station. So, and you know, I grabbed a taxi, took it to the police station, which was only like $5, so it wasn't too bad. And so I go to the police station, and I go to the entryway where the guards are posted, talking to them, and I have a little thing for the missionary saying my wife left her cell phone in a taxi and it's supposed to be here. And I go up and show them that, and they look at it, and they're like, oh, okay. So they reach over, grab me like some iPhone, and just hand it to me. I'm like, here you go. I'm like, oh, no. They're like, done, here's your phone. And it's not our phone. And so, oh, no, that's not my phone. So they kind of look at me confused, and they're like, okay. And he's like, I don't speak English, but go in the main door, and there's someone on the right. Talk to them. So I go into the police station. There's a secretary there, and I chat with her. I'm trying to explain to her, and she speaks English. And she, like, made me, like, she wanted a passport, she wanted my driver's license, she wanted all of my information. But at the end of the night, she had the phone, and I'm all, kamsahamnida. And she's like, oh, yeah. It was like a big reunion with the phone. And that was great. So we got the phone back. So that was another, I don't really want to test the kindness of the Koreans anymore on this trip. But we have lost so much stuff and gotten it all back.
We haven't lost anything that we haven't been able to retrieve.
And it even turns out, like, the reason that the phone was trying to call us is we're pretty sure the taxi driver was trying to text me.
He did. He sent 2 texts. I don't know why they didn't go through. We know why one didn't go through.
They had too many numbers, though. Even the other one.
It doesn't matter what you put at the end.
It still had too many numbers. I don't know.
Doesn't matter.
Matters to me because I didn't get the text. But he was trying to text us to tell us the phone was safe and not to worry. But I never got those, so they accidentally called.
So it's been a whirlwind of a week. A lot has transpired. So next week we are finally going to go to Everland Water Park. We loved Everland, the theme park. So now we're going to check out the water park. We heard from a friend of ours that we have here that they have a slide that is so dangerous they have to weigh you before you go on it to make sure that you weigh enough and not too much. So she says she's going to come with us and so that we can go on these slides.
Yeah, so we have
we're excited.
So we have a friend coming with us if she comes, and that we're excited for that. She said she'd watch the kids while we go on stuff.
Yeah.
I'm like, we'll take it. Sounds like a deal. And it should be a lot of fun. After that, on Saturday, we're going to go to the DMZ, which is the demilitarized zone, and get as close as we can to North Korea.
Yep.
And check
we're
out that.
also going to go to a place called Woojin Play Center. Again, I am probably saying these wrong, but this is another swimming place we found that it looks like you can swim, and kids and adults can both swim. They also have an indoor skiing something. You can go indoor skiing there. I don't know what that's about. We're going to just do the swimming portion this week and then maybe the skiing portion next week. So I think next week in the vlogcast, we will just talk about the water events because I think those will take a big chunk of the time, but we'll see if we have time for North Korea. We'll definitely do some videos and post a separate YouTube
leave
video.
That as a separate thing, which could be its own video.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for watching or listening.
Yes,
or for our podcast. Please like and subscribe. Subscribe and alert. I don't know. Whatever you do. If you made it this far in the video, you're awesome. If you listen this far, you're awesome.
Check out our blog. It has more details, more pictures, give you a better idea of what's happening. You can also check us out on social channels. We really do update Facebook the most just because we get the most kind of out of it. Everybody's upset with Instagram. Nobody sees your content anymore. And Twitter just kind of following the same way. They don't show you update. But
I've been taking over the MeWe, so...
Yeah, check us out on MeWe. So if you want to make that transition from Facebook and join the next big hoppin' social media network.
Okay, thanks. Bye.